There's a reason why we can't confirm the Big Bang. You know what I mean? Like
Sure. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but then my next question would be like, okay, you can't confirm it. So then what?
yeah.
Why jump to the next step? This
So then
are you
there
familiar
has
with the
to be
God
a
of the
discussion.
gaps?
I'm not saying, huh?
Are you familiar with the God of the gaps? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So it's essentially basically I forget who brought this up, but the God of the gaps is essentially that what sometimes religious people will do is that when you can't explain something or when you don't have enough evidence for something to say it's 100% true, there's a gap in your knowledge, so you insert God in that.
Yeah.
So that's what that kind of seems to be what's going on here is that there's like you don't know where evolution came from for sure. You don't know that there was a big bang. We don't know how to explain it. So there must be a God. Whereas someone like me would say like we just don't know where it came from and then we can just leave it at that and then we can keep
Well,
trying
I
to
think
figure
it's
out.
kind of I feel like it's kind of unfair to say that we believe in a God of the gaps because we do believe in the God of the gaps. Like I believe
Mhm.
like okay, so like we haven't uncovered everything
Yeah.
in the ocean, right?
Mhm.
There might be new creatures, there might be new like that's a gap in the knowledge that we have. I
Mhm.
believe there is somebody, God, who has knowledge of that. So like by definition, I believe in God of the gaps. So like to say that as like a oh well you're just using that, it's like well yeah like that again like when you hold to God as the creator of everything, of course he's the God of the gaps. It makes perfect sense within my worldview, within the biblical worldview that I hold, for that to be true. I don't see that as like a conflict.
No, I don't I'm not saying it's a conflict. I guess I'm simply just saying it's better to say like I don't know. So if you had that example of like the fish in the ocean or whatever, there's like a ton of the ocean
Yeah,
we haven't explored. It would be as
yeah,
if like you said, here's the equivalent of it. It would be almost as if
okay.
you said, um, it would be like this. If you said, well, there must be fish down there because we see other fish in the ocean. And to me, the statement is, I don't know. We should keep looking to see if there's fish. That would be an example of what I mean by like I don't know if this is not the god of the gats, but it's another example of you fill in your lack of knowledge with an assumption of how you currently see the world. But there's no
Mm,
reason to do that. And also, even yeah, there's just no reason to do that. I mean, you can even look
okay.
at this from like this is going to get super nerdy and metaphysical real quick.
Oh, I'm good. Let's go there.
But I think even like even if you take it to like the question of like how was the universe created? That's actually the wrong
Yeah.
question. The question is how did the universe come about? And the reason I say that is because just because I think in our framework of how we see our day-to-day life, we often see things are created. Like right, I mean just look around you and my background and your background. Where'd that paper come
Yep.
from? Oh, it came from trees. Where did the wall
Yeah.
come from? It came from cement. You know, whatever it is, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
you but
Yeah.
you get to a
Yeah.
point where if you don't know the origins of the universe, you
Yeah.
also can't assume that the way you see things in the universe currently are the same way that it was created or the same way that it came see even I'm doing it in the same way that it came about. So even just because like the universe itself exists doesn't imply a creator.
Mm.
Like why could it not just come about?
Again, there are a lot of people who are way smarter at me who
Yeah,
probably know the
yeah, no
specifics
worries.
of it, but I have heard and I've studied
Yeah,
briefly
sure.
that like matter and
Uh-huh.
atoms
Uh-huh.
and like the science behind like the very basic structure of not only life but just any sort of sustenance on earth,
Mhm.
if it were off, if the degree of the earth was shifted even a half
Sure.
degree, if the atmosphere wasn't exactly perfect to be able to sustain life, then there would be nothing. I find it very difficult to believe that everything just formed in such a way that it was perfectly sustainable to exist, to have earth exist in the way that we experience it. I think it's hard to believe that all of that happened randomly, because if it happened randomly, everything would not have an order in the way that it does. And that's something that I look at when it comes to like creation
Mhm.
and asking the right questions about creation.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's called fine tuning. I think that's what you're talking about. That's actually one of the most famous atheists, Christopher Hitchens. I think I heard, I don't know if it's true, but I heard he was asked like if you could give the most, uh, well, something like the most reasonable evidence for a creator. That was his answer, is fine tuning.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
like
I understand
and
what
I
you're saying.
yeah, and so and I don't think that, again, like if he's using it as an atheist as like the best argument, I think there's something to that. Like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? If it were truly as like we've seen it, right? Like you see as we make discoveries in the universe and we're getting further and further out, and you're seeing these anomalies and you're seeing these crazy things happen and all of this stuff. Like we see what happens um if things are out of order, right?
Hmm.
We see all this stuff that could never sustain life, even as much as we try to make it happen.
Hmm.
Um, that to me just speaks of, there has to be an intelligent design.